Hey everybody, and welcome to another 3-minute clip on how to be highly skilled and deeply formed. Well, today I have the great privilege of sharing just 2 leadership principles that were imparted to me that made the world of difference to my leadership, and I truly hope today that they make the world of difference to yours. These 2 leadership principles are a package of 10, but for the sake of time, just touch on 2 because I genuinely believe that these 2 are the starting point in being effective in leadership. And if we can grow in our leadership, we'll be more effective in every possible other way. So these 2 are the 2 principles. The first is the principle of sacrifice. And as we are going to develop in our leadership and as we grow in our leadership, and you'll see that there's a continuum of growth, as we grow in our leadership, we need to make sacrifices to grow. We need to give up to go up, but we also need to give up to stay up. And here's what's so important to remember. We need to give up our rights. And that's the first triangle. We need to give up our rights. Now, when we are in beginning stages of leadership, we tend to have more rights. We can focus a little bit more on comforts. We can focus a little bit more on conveniences. But as we tend to grow, and as we grow, we have to sacrifice those rights and take on instead greater responsibility. I'm not going to finish the word, but we need to take on greater responsibility. Bottom line is leadership is about responsibility, taking care of the people that we call to lead, taking care of our churches, taking care of the people that God has entrusted to us. We need to take on greater responsibility. This is the principle of sacrifice. As we grow in leadership, we sacrifice rights and take on responsibility. But there's a second principle that's really helpful too, and it's the principle of development. Here's what's so important. Many people, and many of us today, still at certain points think that the majority of leaders have just this incredible natural gifting to lead, and that's not even true. There are a lot of statistics that prove this, but we're going to look at just 3. The first is this, that 10% of all leaders in leadership roles are there because of their gifting, only 10%. And that means that our gifts and talents will only take us so far. Only 10% of our leaders today are there purely on gifting. Another 5% of the leaders that we see in the industries today are there because they're forced to by circumstance. And this is an interesting thing because each of us may experience a time where we are forced into a leadership role through circumstances. A rather extreme example would be the CEO of an organization dies, and we now have to take their place. We're forced into that leadership through circumstance. And this is not always a great way to see us in leadership, but only about 5% of leaders get there. Here's the kicker. 85% of all leaders are in a leadership role because of the influence of other leaders. The influence of other leaders. Bottom line is, influential leaders influence leaders. In other words, 85% of all the leaders we see in industry today, in any industry, church life, the secular world, anywhere, 85% of all of those leaders are there because another influential leader took time to influence them. And this is the key for each and every one of us. Surely as followers of Christ, surely as leaders in the church, we should be passionate about the development of other leaders. So if we take these 2 principles and apply them, we give up rights for responsibility, and then we take the time to develop other leaders, we will see an 85% greater chance in having greater leaders in our churches, in our ministries, and of course, even in our businesses. So can I encourage you today? Let's always be leaders who sacrifice rights for responsibility and raise other leaders. God bless. Hope this is helpful.